Howdy mates, good late morning, how are we all doing? It is Wednesday, January 19th, 2022, I almost said 21, close. Right now I'm over at the Oscar Scherer State Park once again, but I'm visiting a separate portion of the park. Instead, we're actually currently on the Red Trail. That's basically meeting with the western edge of the state park itself. So where I'm standing, you just have a great opportunity to really see essentially a scrub habitat right here. But then, as you can see to my left, you're starting to see a little bit of succession that is occurring. So, in other words, what I mean by succession, it refers to the change in land over time. So, like, really the way how succession works in Florida is, where I'm standing, at one point, this was a beach dune that met up directly with the ocean. And essentially, going even before that, this was under the ocean, especially before the Ice Age occurred. But then as the Ice Age happened, some of those global water levels receded a bit. And then once the Ice Age did occur, it was basically at an equilibrium. Because that's what nature always tries to do, is reach that equilibrium. That's the ultimate goal. So, with that being said, since this land is slightly further inland, not by much, it really allowed some of the more drier tolerant plants to thrive. So like for instance, usually in a scrub habitat, you'll find variety of grasses, rushes, and even sedges, as well as even some of these young oaks right here. Most of these are probably, really young live oak, or even wax myrtle. That's a common bush that you'll find in a scrub habitat. And every so often, you may even find a myrtle oak as well. But essentially, a lot of these trees, or some of these trees that you're seeing, they're really, really young right now. They haven't had a full chance to mature yet. So then, once you progress a little further, you start to see more of the slash pine as well. Usually slash pine, they like mesic soil quality. So that means the moisture content is usually about medium or so. So that means it's not too dry and it's not too wet. And usually with pines, they usually indicate a slight raise in elevation. Not by much though. But usually they're described more as an upland community. But like I said, most of Florida is relatively flat and meets at the sea level, but not always. Like for instance, where I'm standing, it might only be, for all I know, anywhere between 10, 20 feet above sea level. Maybe even less than that. Difficult to say. Either way, it's not that much higher above. And so that's why oftentimes you won't really find swamps out here whatsoever. You usually have to go a bit closer to the ocean. And with that being said, the water table, which is a boundary of where you'll start to find water underground, the water table in Florida is actually very high. So usually when the wet season occurs, it tends to be once after there is excessive rain in this given area. You oftentimes find a lot of puddles just because the soil has been oversaturated. You know, there's only a certain capacity that the water table can permeate enough water. But once that limit is reached, none of that water is permeated. So it just stays as a puddle until it starts to dry up and evaporate. But right now we're in the dry season in Florida. So that means there's a lot less rain, so that gives a chance for the water to evaporate. But a lot of these dry tolerant plants, what they like to do is they like to store water in their roots so that they're still getting the water that they need. It's quite an amazing adaptation, actually, how really the plants know, like, oh, okay, we're not really going to be receiving that much water, so we're gonna save and conserve what we can. Yep. So actually, right up here, you see those red beans. That is actually something called rosary pea. That's actually an invasive species. I believe that was brought over from Asia, as I can recall. It's mostly brought over for ornamental purpose. And in terms of like, if it's actually edible, I honestly don't think it really is. You know, my thing is, if you're not really certain if it is edible, it's best to just leave it be. But the thing is, with rosary pea, it's really hard to the touch. You know, it feels like you're holding a bead. And in a sense, what's particularly neat, despite it being an invasive plant, the peas have actually been used as beads, you know, for jewelry. And they're usually indicated by having the red bottom, but when you look towards the top, it has a black dot on it. So that's how you know it's a rosary pea. But they do tend to spread fairly quick. It's usually a characteristic of an invasive plant. So alright, you guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and Journey on a Journey is once again outwards. Take care, folks. See ya. Take care, you guys.